Okay, so we are moving on. Okay. Um, okay, so now we are looking at the aggregate supply curve or function. Okay, for aggregate supply, we are talking about the relationship between price and output. Okay, and we know that output depends on what? On N. Okay, if N changes, that is where Y also what? Y changes. So initially, when we're at P1, okay, when we're at P1, this is P1, this is our N, and this is our Y1, okay, so this is where we are. Now, when there was an increase in price, we saw that there was an increase in labor demand, and there was a decrease in labor supply, and as a result, there was no change in N, and if there's no change in N, there will still be no change in what? In Y. So even if price should increase from P1 to P2, because N is not changing, Y2 is what? Y2 is not changing. If price should increase again, this same thing will happen again. Price will move up and then Y will be constant. So under this theory, the aggregate supply curve is vertical. Okay, is only vertical. Okay, so it means that changes in price will have no effect on aggregate supply. Okay, it will have no effect. Okay, so that's what we have here. The level of real output is not affected by the nominal variables. Price is a nominal variable, so even if it changes, it cannot affect the output level. So real output can only be affected by only real variables. Okay. So what you have to do is, you see the first two diagrams that we drew, then you add this to show that there's no change in Y. So you have the first one, the second one, and then you join this one too. Okay. Just to show that there's no change in Y at all. All right. Okay, so let's look at this. What can cause a shift in the aggregate supply curve? Okay, what can cause a shift in the aggregate supply curve? Let's look at a change in the level of capital stock. Last week we saw that whenever there's a change in the capital stock, then this is what happens to the production function or the production curve. Okay, it shifts what? Upwards. And what happens to labor demand? It increases. So initially, this is where we were. In the labor market, this was the equilibrium at point A, and this was our N, so that was our Y. Okay, this was our equilibrium. Okay, equilibrium Y. Now there's an increase in the capital stock, so the production function is shifting upwards. Okay, so we are no more on A but on B, and as a result, producers will demand for more labor. So there'll be a rightward shift in the labor demand curve. So this is our new equilibrium, which means that we get a new level of N, and as a result, the equilibrium output to what will increase, which means that we are getting a shift in what? In the labor, in the aggregate supply curve. Okay, so you will see that a change in the capital stock is a change in real factor. It's not a nominal factor. The capital stock is a real factor. And for this theory, we have been saying that it's only the real factors that have lasting effects on the real variables. Okay, like output. Okay. So this was the example, the dynamics. If the capital stock should increase, then the production function should shift up. Check this. This note was by Dr. Baruma. At times in exams, this is how the marking scheme is. If K goes up, just do up like that. Then production function will go up, up, up. That's how he is. You say up, up, down, up, up, down. He just, if you don't do that, everything is wrong. So as the capital stock is going up, then the production function will shift up, which will shift what? The labor demand curve, and then the MPN or the labor demand curve what will go up. This means that your Y2 can what? Can go up. You see that because ND is moving up, there's an increase in real wage from the diagram. There's an increase in real wage, there's an increase in N, and as a result, there's going to be an increase in Y. Okay, so the level of real output is only affected by real variables. Okay, it's only affected by real. So you draw this curve too. Draw it, draw it. You need to know how to draw them. Okay, any question? Any question?
Hello. 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 Hello.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, okay, very good. So now we are looking at aggregate demand. Do you know I was talking? I had muted myself, but I've been talking for like 10 minutes now. Okay, so sorry, sorry. Sorry. Right, so what I'm saying is that the production function that we have been looking at is a real function, okay, which means that it is only determined by what? By real factors, okay? So according to this theory, any variable that is supply side determined is a real variable, okay? So these are the real variables that we'll be looking at through the course. We've already seen why real output and MPN W over P. We'll be looking at savings, investment, consumption, and then real interest rate. Okay, and real interest rate. So all these things, because they are supply side determined, they are all what? Real variables. Okay. And then another these two guys, government expenditure and then tax, though they are autonomous in this model, they are also real. Okay, they are also real, which means that they can cause a change in any of these real uh, variables. Okay, and then the demand side, demand side ones, okay, all those ones are just as important as causing changes in the nominal variables. So anything that can cause a change in demand can only affect the nominal wage, price, or the marginal revenue product of labor. Okay. When you see any variable with P attached, it becomes a nominal variable. But if P is dividing, it becomes what? A real variable. Okay. Right. So now what we'll be looking at, we'll be meeting this guy a lot. Money supply. This is a nominal variable. I think the king of all the nominal variables in this theory. Okay. So M2 will be seen as a nominal variable. So what this means is that M can never cause a change in Y. Please know that if the factor is a nominal factor, it can never cause a change in any of the real factors. Okay, any of the real factors. Right. So let's look at it. What we'll be looking at is the role of money in determining aggregate demand. Okay. Right. So we'll start with the determination of price model. Determination of price. What we'll be looking at is we'll be using the quantity theory of money. I'm sure you've heard it before. Okay, you've heard that before. And what we'll be looking at is what determines the general price level. And in this model, the price level is taken as a function of money supply. Okay, so this is what we'll be trying to find out. Okay, if really the price level in any economy is only affected by the money supply, the MSCS money supply. Okay, so price is a direct function of money supply. So we'll be using the quantity theory of money to do this. And for the quantity theory of money, we have two schools of thought or two versions. One by Evan Fisher, okay, that one is called the Fisherian, okay, and then we have the Cambridge one, the one propounded by Cecil Pigou and then Major, okay, so we'll look at those two, okay, the Fisherian and then the Cambridge uh, versions, okay. I'm sure you've seen them before, so it shouldn't be much of an issue. Okay, so what will be working around is the equation of exchange. Okay, the equation of exchange. That's the money supply. M here is what? Money supply. V is the velocity of money. Or some call it the velocity of circulation or the velocity of circulation of money. Then this is the general or the average price level, and then this is our real output. Okay, so this is the equation that we'll be dealing with. Okay, now the equation of exchange, as I said, is mv is equal to py. So m is the quantity of money supply, and then v is the velocity of money, and then p is the general or the average price level, and then y is real output, the quantity of goods and services that are produced in the economy. I'm sure we all know what money supply is. The quantity or the volume of money in circulation, and that one is controlled by the central bank. It's only the central bank that controls the money supply. And then velocity of money talks about the turnover of any unit of the currency. Okay, how money exchanges hands, okay, within a time period. Okay, so an assignment I'll give you is to go and write an essay on the factors that affect the velocity of money. Okay, when you go online, I'm sure you will see some. Even the quantity of money can affect the velocity of money. If we have too much money in the system, it means that each unit will not be changing hands as frequently as possible. Okay, and then we can even talk about the quantum of transactions. If we are trading much, if the transactions in the economy per the time of study is quite high, then it's more likely money will be changing hands. So uh, individual A will give it to B, B will give it to C. So as the money is changing hand, then it means that the velocity of money is high. We can even talk about the payment system. Okay, when people are paid on daily basis, okay, the money will not be changing hands as much. Okay, but in a case where maybe we are paid monthly, it means that after the month, the notes of money that you get, we have to be using those ones for 30 years, for 30 days before we get new ones that we can start circulating. Okay, we can also talk about the credit system. When in a case where the economy uses more of the cash system, then the velocity of money tends to be low. Okay, so you can go to the net. I mean, at times these things, you might not be asked, but you knowing them expands your economic horizon. Okay, so you try to be reading around those ones. Okay, we know P, we know Y too, right? Now, when you go to the equation of exchange, the MV that we have here is the total value of money that is used in all the transactions in a given year. Okay, so in a given year, if you take a country like Ghana in 2020, the total amount of money that we spent within the year on goods and services is what the MV will measure. So this means that when you multiply the money supply by the velocity, then you get the total expenditure on goods and then what services. And then PY is the total value of what? Of goods produced in a year, which means that yes, this is a truism. It's supposed to be true that the total value of money that we spend should be the same as the value of the goods that have been produced. Okay, so this is a truism that MV is supposed to be equal to what? Equal to PY. So MV is equal to PY. It's a truism. It should always hold. Expenditure should always be equal to the total value of goods and services produced in that year. Okay, good. So that is that. Okay, so now we want to move from the equation of exchange to the quantity theory of money. Okay, and then we need to know how the variables in the equation of exchange to are determined. Okay, how they are determined. So these are the assumptions that we need to hold. I'm sure you know economics by now. We always need to hold assumptions. And the first one is that the money supply is